Hello. This is... Fuck, let me start over.
And
I feel like there's so much pressure starting
I know, so
off.
much pressure. It is.
Hello. This is the Manabar Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Smarco, here with Dan Party.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? And Andy Rhodes is off in a different state.
He is.
Putting his family and loved ones ahead of the podcast.
I know, see?
Which I promise I will never do.
Nope, see? Matt has not missed one yet.
Yeah,
Matt has perfect attendance.
Hell and high water, I will be here.
So, I know. And
Zombie apocalypse. Doesn't
exactly,
matter.
he's ready to go. So, yep. So, Andy's missing. So
no captain, we can do whatever we want.
we can do it. We can
Yep.
do it. We've done it before. We can do it again.
So what has Dan been playing recently?
This is going to be a boring answer for everyone. I'm still
Death Stranding?
I'm still playing Death Stranding. I'm still absolutely loving it.
I like the pace that you're going at. That you're doing it so like I'm gonna finish this game in 2 years.
Yeah, I am. I'm also kind of frustrated because I saw. Well, okay. If you're looking for a new PlayStation, there's the PlayStation 4 Pro
Yep.
Death Stranding Edition.
Yep.
And it comes with a really cool looking PlayStation 4 with the little handprints from like the BTs, like the monsters basically in the game on like the white PlayStation. So that looks really cool, and I guess the price just went down from $400 to $300. Sorry for those people that just bought it day one.
Yeah.
Because that was like less than a month ago.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, you know what? GameStop will take my Pro in for a decent amount, and then also it comes with the game. I'm gonna keep my copy of the game, and I'll sell the copy I get with the game. So I'll kind of only have to pay a little bit more for a brand new PlayStation 3. Or PlayStation 4. So I did that. Problem was, what I thought I uploaded everything perfectly to the server, I did not.
Nope,
I was
everything wrong.
about one night's worth behind from... I had like almost everything in the second area 5-starred.
Oh man, so all that stuff you did that day is completely gone.
And on top of that, I was pissed off, so I hurried, so I fell and, dropped it, and I got a B. And
yeah.
it's like, son of a...
I haven't had a memory wipe since like the PlayStation 2 era with like memory cards and stuff. That's rough.
Yeah, so I probably fell behind about 4 hours of stuff, so I was pretty pissed because I had everything. I had, what is it? There's the...
You're still trying to do everything?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, they give you some really good stuff. So at one...
True. I bet
you're
going to have so much different stuff at the end of the game than me.
Yeah, so there's like different like level skeletons that you could equip that make you like run faster or like hold more cargo, and then there's one that's like a gold edition, and so
yeah, I never I got the I pre-ordered the game, but so it came with a bunch of gold stuff that I never even used. I didn't know how to unlock them. I don't know if there was like in some weird menu or something to change what your character looks like, but I just completely bypassed that.
So typically if you 5-star some of them give you the gold items.
Weird.
The gold, I just got the gold, I don't know if you call them pauldrons. Is that the correct term?
Sounds right.
Yeah, the shoulder pieces. I just got those, which is great because now I'm actually taking on gunfire instead of those stupid little electric things.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the gunfire is more of a pain in the ass than I thought. Because I was like, I'll just run up to these guys and punch them. Oh, he has an actual gun. Oh, I can't do that. So, I'm dead. Oh, okay, now I'm underwater. What's going... Yeah, welcome to Death Stranding.
Yeah, don't bring a fist to a gunfight.
So, yeah, I'm going at a snail's pace in this game, but I am enjoying the heck out of it. So, obviously, you can tell where my game of the year probably is going towards.
Oh my god, Death Stranding?
But towards...
You're not going to beat it towards by the end of the
No,
year.
but I'll know. I mean, I'm enjoying the story. Everything that's still going on is still really interesting. I always love Kojima's style of cutscenes.
Do you understand what's happening in that game?
I do. I surprisingly do. Something about the way he narrates or they do the cutscenes that I just really pick up on it really well, and I don't find it boring. I mean, some of the stuff is repetitive, like, you drop a package off and they say the same thing. Like, that type of stuff you can skip. But a lot of the actual, story modes, like, I saw the cutscene, I'm not going to spoil anything, where Higgs meets Fragile. Like, that was... Whoa. I was like, that is mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool beats in that game.
Yeah, so like that was one of them. I just like put the controller down. I'm just like, oh, like let's give me more lore in this world. I love it.
There's plenty of lore if you want to read all those.
Yes,
emails.
I've
Do you
been
read those? Because I got to a point where I was just like skimming them and just like reading the. Because at the beginning I was like, I'm gonna read all of these, but it was like you get like it feels like you get 4 like, every 20 minutes. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna skim these.
It was ridiculous.
For big, important
it was like
words.
Control. Like every 5 steps, it was like something to read, and it was like, this is really neat. But yeah, I'm getting to that point where like there's like some highlighted sections for you. So if you really just kind of want to get the gist of it, or say you found one and it says, oh hey, there's an item I left behind, a waterfall, and the waterfall is like yellow, so you know, like, okay, if I go,
it's like the Spark Notes version.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I'm kind of breezing through some of the stuff, but if it sounds like it's an important part, like, you know, how this got started, or why the, you know, how do the BBs get created? Like, okay, that's something.
Yeah, that's kind of the like annoying thing. Sometimes there's some really good backstory about like what happened way before the whole Death Stranding games takes place, and then some of them are just like nonsensical, just like
like, oh, like I had a taco on Tuesday, my stomach hurt.
Exactly.
Like, what? No, I don't need that stuff. Like, it's neat
like that
lore, but
guy in the office that won't stop talking to you.
Yeah, it's just like jibba jabba about not about living like alone, and it's like, great, okay. And he's like, oh yeah, when I was young, my daughter did this, and it's like, okay, that's cool, but mostly, like I said, I'm just really enjoying, like, even every time that main guy, I think his name is Tommy Lee Jenkins or something. He's like he plays the guy with the mask.
Deadman?
Yes. Is it? No, I'm sorry. Deadman is the guy with the heartbeat thing. Oh shit, I can't think of his name. Is it Deadman?
I think so.
Because Heartman.
Heartman
right?
is the doctor. Deadman is the one with the mask.
Yes, I'm sorry. Then yes. Somehow Kojima always does a really good job of finding somebody with a really good like narrating voice. He did that with Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker and Phantom Pain. He had
the voice acting is pretty good.
But that main guy that always called you, I forget his name. He had the sunglasses. Peace Walker and Peace Walker.
I never really played Peace Walker.
Not Peace Walker. I'm sorry, but this guy's in multiple.
You're going off the rails.
I know.
No one knows what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
The voice actor that I can't think of the guy's name, but he was the guy with sunglasses, McDonald Miller.
Okay.
In Metal Gear Solid 5, he was the one that always called you. You go and save him like right at the beginning, like he's missing a leg.
It's not Nolan North, is it?
No, it's not Nolan North. I don't think it's Troy Baker, because Troy Baker was Ocelot.
Okay, I was going to say, at least one of them was in that game, I remember.
Yeah, but the guy who voiced Miller, who was like always talking to you in Metal Gear Solid 5, same thing with Deadman in this game. Like, I just love listening to him. Like, even if it's like stupid stuff where he's like, Sam, you have a fragile package. Don't move it around too much or you blow up.
Don't muck it up.
Yeah, like, don't do this. So, but he just finds a way to really get some great voice actors that I don't mind listening to for like a long time. And at the beginning, he talks to you a lot.
Yeah,
he's like, Sam, there's a package over there. You should pick it up. Sam, it weighs about 8 pounds. Sam, it's like, all right, I get the point. But now, every now and then, he kind of throws in like this little tidbit, like, hey, this is what happened. This is why these people are like this. So, but yeah, like I said, snail's pace.
Yeah, it makes me wonder if where he's gonna go next. Like, is there gonna be another Death Stranding game? I know he had tweeted something recently that kind of hinted at like a new horror game. Like maybe he wants to go back because he was working on that Silent Hill, or he was like in the very pre-production of that new PT Silent Hill game before he got axed or booted from Konami. Be interesting to see if like that's the direction he's going. I would love a Silent Hill type game from him.
Oh, absolutely,
would be awesome. Like, me and you are such big fans of horror games that just to get that. Plus, we're pretty big fans of just the Metal Gear series in general.
Oh, absolutely.
What that could be.
Oh yeah, and not only that, I wonder if he actually could name it PT, considering that's not connected to Silent Hills.
I don't know.
Which I don't know if you got really deep into Metal Gear Solid 5, but there actually was some PT references in that game.
Really? I probably didn't notice.
There was that recording of the guy who's like, there was a family of 8, and they were found dead, blah, blah, blah. There was like a recording.
I don't know. I played it like 4 years ago, so.
That recording is actually in Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh, okay.
And then I think there's also one of the cargo containers that you find in that game actually has the letters PT sprayed on it.
That's funny.
So just little fun Easter eggs. He always is big on Easter eggs, as you would know from the previous game. But that, and then I've been addicted to keep what's it called? Keep going back to Call of Duty, Modern Warfare.
Duty, still?
I've just been playing different modes. Usually when Andy's on, we're playing deathmatch. When I'm by myself, there's always this addicting game or version of
mode.
One of the games. Yeah, mode. That's what you want to call it. Called Gun Game, where you start off with like the worst weapon, and every kill you get, you upgrade to the next weapon, and you have to go through and get a kill with every single weapon. First one to get through all the weapons wins.
Is it a 1v1 or is it?
No, it's free for all.
Oh, that's crazy.
So, and on top of that, if someone melees you with the knife and kills you, you go down a tier. So so that kind of prevents you from like camping with like a weapon, because it makes you like have to move around so someone can't do that to you. But it gets your blood pumping when you're like, oh, I'm in first place, because you can always see your rank compared to who's in first place. And then towards the very end, it says like, it'll make an announcement like, hey, someone's on the last weapon. So it's like fuck.
Oh, yeah, that sounds incredibly stressful. So it's very time oriented more than anything
it
else.
is. I mean, you got to get going with it. I've had like 4 kills in a row, and then you get knifed. Fuck. Then there goes all your momentum.
I hate when you're playing like a game like that, and you see the guy in first place that just keeps going up, and you're like, I can't even find anyone.
Yeah,
How am I supposed to catch up?
Exactly. I always start out the worst. I can't hit a goddamn thing with a pistol unless it's facing the wrong way and not preferably moving. I found that out the friggin' hard way. Nice. But other than that, I've
Have you been playing Star Wars Jedi Order :
No,
man.
I kind of fell off that a little bit because I wanted to focus more on Death Stranding, which kind of got me sidetracked because Andy keeps sidetracking me from that game with Call of Duty. And then
you're juggling a lot of intense, not short games.
Yeah, no,
very long games.
I'm looking at my list and it's quite daunting.
Well, Star Wars isn't that long, but the other ones are.
Star Wars isn't that long, but knowing me, it looks like it's something that I would want to dive deeper into. I still want to beat Greedfall, that I've been enjoying the heck out of. For those people that don't have or want a Dragon Age or a Fallout game, but don't want to play 76. Or have already beaten Dragon Age Inquisition. This is, I feel like, a good mix-up. Oh, God. And then Devil May Cry 5, I do want to put that up there because I feel like that game deserves a nomination, considering it's also, I think...
Yeah, it's a game you bought, but you, have barely played, is that right?
Yeah, I barely touched it. It was pre-owned, and I was like, oh, there's a good buy two, get one deal or something.
You gotta take, a week off and just lock yourself in your room and just play all these games. You should you should start with, Star Wars and then end with Death Stranding, because Death Stranding you're just never gonna finish anyway.
I know. I have been realizing, I'm trying to treat it like...
Especially if you do it, the way you're playing it.
Oh,
it took me forever, and I was like, I'm just doing the story after, 10 hours. I was like, I've had it. I'm just doing the story.
I want to know how many hours I'm into that game. I want to say about 25, and I'm still there, and I'm so excited to keep going now. I hope there's more, I hope there's more, I hope there's more, and it keeps giving me more, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So I've been, like I said, just snail pace at that game. But I'm eyeing my next few games, which, I figured Devil May Cry 5, I should probably pop in, play that for a little bit, push, towards the story, because it's pretty linear, right? From what you said?
Yeah.
Devil May Cry 5.
Very much linear.
And then same thing.
Not a very long game either.
Exactly. And I heard Star Wars is, again, something that's, a little bit of backtracking, but should be able to get through most of it. Unfortunately, I have, Greedfall, that's a massive, game, pretty much. Especially if you want to, be ahead, kind of like in most RPGs where it's I want to have not sucky things when I go to these enemies. And so it's been a lot of time-consuming games. But for you, anything new for you?
Yeah, well, I finished up Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, so I just beat it this week. It's so it was definitely good overall. It did get to the point near the end where I was like, all right, I just want to kind of finish this. I was never not enjoying myself, but it felt like I was doing a lot of the same stuff over and over. They do a good job of just slowly giving you more and more abilities throughout the entire game. So even just near the end, you're getting new new skills, new abilities, and like new even lightsaber variants, which is like super sweet. Like I'm not gonna spoil all of it, but like one of the earlier ones, you can get super early, or you can like do it in the main storyline. It's you get like the double-sided Darth Maul one.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It plays completely differently, which is really kind of cool. How you can just switch back and forth between them.
Oh, you can switch back and forth
just
quickly.
like with a click of a
awesome.
button, your like lightsaber just like goes longer or whatever. So it's kind of neat how it kind of changes up. Like the Darth Maul double-sided one is much better for like bigger groups, so it just kind of helps you deal with some of the problems that you had earlier in the game. So it wasn't a very long game, but it does feel like one of those games where like if you had bought the game, I had it on GameFly. If you had bought it and maybe you don't have as much like money for more games, or you weren't interested in anything else, you could probably get a lot more out of it just between like all of the backtracking and like, all right, I'm gonna go back to all these worlds and 100% it and get like all the different collectibles and things like that, which you're mostly just getting variants for the colors of your costumes and colors of your lightsaber and like the hilt on your lightsaber, which is kind of neat, but it's not super. That never really drives me because you're not really changing the gameplay much. I think you can get like increased, power bars for your health and your force power too, but it's kind of, those are fewer and far between. But yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I've also been playing. I just started playing A Plague Tale.
Oh, yes. So, good.
Yeah, did you play that? I know Andy had played it.
I played it, and then I told Andy that I think this might be intriguing for him because it's kind of a puzzly...
Yeah, it seems
sort of like... It's almost like a more puzzly Last of Us, or more puzzly...
Yeah, I'm definitely liking like
Uncharted.
The story and characters are more interesting than I thought it would be. Like it's really interesting to see, and it seems like this big. I mean, obviously you would think it would be a big struggle, but it's just like you almost feel for these characters that you're playing as. It's just like every little thing that you're doing is like, oh, this is the worst time to be alive, and they're in the worst circumstance, in the worst place, and they just like can't get out of it. It just seems like such a bummer.
It is a depressing.
It is super depressing.
Gore
game.
And corpses everywhere.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised. I think I'm about halfway through the game. I thought going to this game just from the promotional material that it would be very heavy on rats and like basically figuring out puzzles with rats. But I feel like that's only been 10 or 20% tops of what I've been doing. It seems to be more of just like a stealth game. You seems to be most of the enemies you're going against are other like human characters, soldiers that you're trying to sneak past, which is, I don't love stealth as much as I love like puzzles, so I was kind of a little disappointed in that, but I was
that will change.
Okay.
That will change.
Yeah.
Later you can play the way you want. Later you'll get something that ignites like their helmet, which they have to take it off, and then you can hit them in the head and knock them out. Or you can sneak around them. So that kind of gives you a little bit, but it's the question of how you also upgrade your resources, because it's similar to like The Last of Us, where it's like, all right, I have 2 hammers and 5 nails and this, and I can make this, which will make this my quiver bigger, or this which will make my my gun more accurate or something. So depending on how you want to play, if you don't want to play stealthy, then you just don't put the points in the stealth ones. That changes later.
Yeah, the equipment and like different skills you have is definitely more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Like you do, like you were saying, like you start off with just being able to throw a rock, and then it just gets more and more complex. You start to get into like alchemy, where you can build like flashbangs basically, and like things that attract the rats to enemies. And
that's screwed up. The first time I did that, I was like, wait, I'm gonna throw this at him, and
yeah, it's just crazy. And then like, so there's also an upgrades tree where you can like you were just saying, upgrade your hilt and upgrade your like stealth and just like different things like that. And it makes sense. Like it's not your stealth. It's just like, oh, you're building better shoes out of leather and stuff, so you're quieter. So it's kind of interesting that it's kind of in canon. It makes sense, but also it's a little bit stressful because the same items that you're using to make your the explosion thing that'll distract the enemy are the same things you're using to upgrade the guys. So you kind of
risky.
It's kind of this risk reward between like, all right, I really want to get past this guy, but if I can figure out a way to do it without using anything, then I'll be able to upgrade my X, Y, and Z faster. That'll make it easier overall, or I can just kind of brute force it and use it now. It's like, so I as a person that usually saves stuff till the end of games and doesn't end up using like the classic rocket launcher in your backpack till the end of every Resident Evil game, and then it's just in the credits. Like that's so like I'm trying not to use. I'm probably making the game a lot harder on myself by just not using any materials to make stuff whenever I can, just so I can use it for upgrades.
Yep.
So there's definitely parts where I'm like, there's like 7 guys, and I'm like, I don't know how to get past these guys, and then I'll just have to frustratedly use one of my items on them. And even then, when you're using items, it's not like a get out of jail free card. It's still very few of them like just kill them instantly, and when they do, it's like the other guys will notice. So it's definitely a stressful game. It's more like stealth and stressful than anything else. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the world they created. It's super depressing.
Yeah, it's very immersive. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
immersive's a good
one
word for it.
scene in particular. I don't want to spoil it for you, but you'll kind of see it and go, "Oh my god!" Like, what the heck?
Yeah, and then like everyone once you feel like, oh, I've been doing the stealth stuff for too long, then they'll throw you back into like an area where you're doing the rats, which I just seem to like a little bit more, just because it's more puzzle boxy as opposed to just like stealthy, trying to figure out how to get through this map area. But
I thought they did a great job of bouncing between like the different variants of the game. Like, all right, I've been doing sneaky for a while. Like, all right, now it's puzzle, and now it's a little bit of combat, and back to that, and a little bit of, and then later,
like, oh, rats, or it's like there's a lot of going on there. There's a bunch of different kinds of gameplay. It seems like, which is
and
cool.
then later they start implementing 2 things. Like, okay, it's combat and rats.
Yeah.
So it makes it just a little bit more difficult, and kind of puzzly in a way. Like, all right, I only have this amount of stuff, and I got to get by that guy, and he's carrying a torch, and I'm taking that out.
Puzzly.
So
like, it's not just puzzle versus stealth. It's really like stealth plus puzzle versus stealth plus terrifying, I guess.
Yeah, and like I said, later, it really depends on how you want to play. So they'll give you all those different options, and you can decide what you want to do, what you're best at. So it's like I said, it was a really good game, and I knew right away that Andy, it was right up his alley, because I was like, oh, I know he likes puzzle games, and I figured this is a really interesting story, and wasn't sure how you would feel on this. I'm glad you're liking it, though.
I am, yeah. I'm liking
glad
it
you're
more than
liking
I
it.
thought it was. Like, I got it and thought, like, oh, I'll
did the
probably play
same
this for an
thing.
hour, and maybe I'll give up on it because it's like going to be the same thing. But it's not a game that gets stale. Like, they really do add a lot more. It's definitely more interesting overall than I thought it was going to be, which is kind of cool. It's a nice
Exactly.
surprise.
At first, I was worried it was going to be a lot kind of like Resident Evil 4, where you had that girl like connected with you and you have to walk with her.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
it is like a giant escort
kind of
for a lot of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of a drag, but they kind of let this kid do, like, the little boy, Hugo, I think is his name. He kind of does his own thing. Like, obviously, if you bail on him, he can get injured or killed. But like when you're running or something, like, you don't have to like hold him.
He'll
or
stay close
pick
to
up.
you.
He'll stay close to you.
He's not going to die.
Exactly.
Unless you leave him there specifically.
Yeah, and they kind of make it known, like, when he's in trouble type of thing.
And then they start adding in parts where you're using him as like you like, go over there and do that. You can throw him commands, and
Exactly.
sometimes that'll help you out, sometimes it won't.
Yep, found that
which is
out the
cool.
hard way a few times.
Yeah.
Hey, lift that! I can't. There goes the rats.
Yeah,
But
if you try to send him into like a pile of rats, he'll be like, "Hey, come on, I'm not doing that."
Yeah, and he's like, I know, I'm a kid and I'm annoying, but don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was quite impressed and very happy that pretty soon into the game they kind of relinquished that worry that you have to be attached to this kid by the hip, and that you can like run without him, like, because he'll just do his own thing. So, but no, I'm glad that you're enjoying that. Anything else you're playing?
So that's all I'm playing. I should probably note that I bought an Xbox One.
Oh, you
so
took the
we can get a review 6 years later.
He took the plunge. Him and Andy.
Like I always said, I was never gonna get an Xbox One because they have really no games I want to play in them. And we had talked about this last week where my 360 just croaked. I was trying to figure out the best way to replace it. So it was like either get a used 360, but then at that point you can get a used Xbox One for $100, and I was like, you know what, I might as well just get one that makes the games look a little better and it costs a little bit more. And then they had these big Black Friday sales where it was like, all right, you can get a new Xbox One for $200, and it comes with like every Gears game ever made, like or at least the first 5, most of them. And
they'll play nicer on the Xbox One.
What's that?
They'll play nicer. The
Yes,
frame rate
I'll play
will be
better
a
on
lot
Xbox
better
One.
than the Xbox.
So I decided, you know what, might as well just pay the $200, like, because minus the cost of the whatever the 360 is going to cost me, or the used Xbox One. This one, it'll be nice. There'll be no issues with it probably. and then I can just have that to play any 360 games. And then if there's anything I want to play on Xbox One, I can do that too. So I actually haven't played any games yet with it yet. My plan is to play the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy at some point when I get some time.
I didn't realize that was... I mean, I'm not a huge fan of 13, but I didn't know that was backwards compatible.
Yeah, all three of them are backwards compatible. There's 13, 13.2, and then Lightning Returns. And I had played 13 once when it came out. I remember not liking it, and then I played part of 13.2, and then it fell off real quickly. And then I guess Lightning Returns got pretty good reviews.
Yeah, I remember that.
Surprisingly. And just like, it seems like the strange, like I'm kind of a big Final Fantasy fan, and I've only played this game once, and I just kind of want to give it another try and see if like playing them all at once. I remember the story not making a lot of sense, so maybe if I play them back to back, I don't know if I ever get the time to do that. I think that'd be kind of an interesting exercise. So yeah, I haven't played any games on it yet. I did like boot it up and install everything. I was kind of surprised by a couple things. For one, the fact that, and these are obviously things that people have known for 6 years, but just the fact, like, this isn't any breaking news, but like the fact that they're still using just like AA batteries for their controllers was kind of a shock to me, because PlayStation 4 comes out of the box on launch day with a rechargeable controller. You got to plug it in to charge it, but it charges for a pretty long time. You don't have to recharge it again. Xbox One, it comes with two two AAA batteries,
yeah.
Which like that's one of the reasons I didn't like going to wireless from wired, just because you got to buy all these stupid batteries, and then like, oh, you're playing this game and you don't have any batteries in this house, and then you have to like either go out, or you gotta spend, if you play a lot of video games like me, you gotta spend, like, it adds up buying these AA batteries every week or whatever. It's just kind of feels like a pain. So that was kind of surprising. I'm sure you can buy 360 controllers that have chargers,
but
or you can buy chargers.
On top of that, that's probably an additional $30 to a controller that's already,
exactly.
$50-$60.
Yeah.
So that is kind of a kick in the teeth, right away.
Yeah, the controller, it felt nice, but it also felt a little light, but that's probably just a matter of them not having to put like a battery pack in it too. And then just like the UI, I know they've been updating the UI over the years, but it still feels like I still feel lost and not knowing where like games are, where's the store, like where's the sale, and again, I don't know.
Clunky.
I don't know if that's just me having been in the PS4 space so long that I'm like, all right, I know where the PlayStation stuff is, but like this, it just like seems like they've got like ads in weird places. It's not very like user friendly as to where you're supposed to go for A, B, and C, which also seemed a little bit strange to me.
Yeah, no, it is. If they were I remember when it first came out, they were so obsessed with Windows tiles. And that's like their whole big thing. They just want everything in a giant square, and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't really work per se.
I remember I was trying to find like the Xbox store. I was like, just like the PlayStation store has all the games listed. I was like, I couldn't find it, and it took me like a while to find it. And I was like, even when I found it, it was not easy or fun to navigate.
Yeah, just to redeem codes is a pain in the ass too. You have to like go into the Xbox store. You have to go into like a sub menu, and then you have to hit like redeem code, and it's a lot of like different windows that you have to like fly through. I don't know if you're having any issues with like loading between, because that's kind of a pain in the ass when everything is like advertising and it's updated advertising, that sometimes it can be just like kind of a little bit sluggish. Like,
I didn't notice that yet. I mean, again, all I did was like what I wanted to do was just kind of download all the games that I had, because another actually cool thing I noticed was so I was like an Xbox 360 owner, obviously. I had a ton of games, and like I put in my name and everything. I was like, oh, you have these like 20 games that you can just download now. It's nice that you can be like, okay, all these games for my Xbox service are all still there. So all these games I bought, 10 years ago are still there for me to play. I can play all those like Geometry Wars games that I bought like the first week that Xbox 360 came out are still on my profile, and I can just play them anytime I want now, which is kind of nice and convenient that still goes on from generation to generation, like almost 15 years from when I actually bought the game, which is nice that it's all there. Like all my friends list is there, which is kind of just interesting to see all the like people that are just either not logged in, or, oh, hey, there's this person that I've never seen on PlayStation because he has a Xbox, not a PlayStation. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I was trying to find, okay, now that I've got an Xbox, are there any Xbox games I missed out on? So I bought Sunset Overdrive, which was like $6 used. I think that was the only game where I was like, oh, I wish I had an Xbox for that when it came out.
And now it might come out for PlayStation, because what's it called? Just bought them out.
Yeah. It was a pretty early game, so I don't know if maybe it won't look that nice, or maybe, I don't know. I'll see. Maybe it'll be fun. I mean, it was like $6 used or whatever. So
it's kind of like cartoony, kind of like Borderlands. So it's like if Tony Hawk were to meet, I'm trying to think, like Borderlands, I guess it's very well in a third person, because it's all about like style points. So
Yeah.
like you'll be grinding on rails, and then you'll
Looks like it has a really nice style to it.
yeah, it's fun. It's you're constantly moving. And it's very like the characters are very quirky and like over the top and ridiculous. I mean, considering it's about a soda company that like ends up like taking over, like the soda ends up turning into these monsters that like take over the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not to be taken seriously. Oh, that's what I meant. It's more like Tony Hawk meets Saints Row. That's what I meant. That's a better comparison. But yeah, no, you'll like that one. I would recommend if you did. Well, I know you didn't love Death Stranding, but if you like the resource management and survival ability of like Death Stranding, I would recommend State of Decay 2. That's
I saw that when it was coming out. And it looked interesting, but
it's made by a smaller developer that Microsoft backed, but it is especially now when it's probably dirt cheap. It's probably only like $30, $20. But it's like a zombie survival simulator. Like you have, if you have a vehicle, it has gas, and the gas can run out. And just like Death Stranding, where you have like all this stuff like in your car, you won't be able to fit it on your back. And on top of that, it'll slow you down. And then you have to be careful too.
Multiplayer, right?
Yeah, it's co-op multiplayer.
That's cool.
You have it? Or yes, yeah, I have it. I think I got pretty close to the end of that game, but towards the end it did get a little repetitive because it was like, go out and get some food. It's like, I have a ton in the fridge. Like, you don't. Anyway,
not hungry.
Yeah, it's like I don't need that. I have like 15 weapons and tons of food, and but no, a lot of the add-ons that they did made the game a lot easier to play and a lot more user friendly, and a lot less clunky. But it was fun. It was kind of like a fun zombie simulator. That's a little bit more realistic too. Like you can't go and like melee the crap out of everything, or else you're gonna get tired. And it's like your stamina bar like goes down, kind of like again Death Stranding, where if you start to exert yourself like way too much, like you start punching or you start running as fast as you can, that meter's gonna go down faster, and it's going to permanently go down until your guy rests, and then you kind of swap between characters.
So is there like a, because I remember this is so long ago when I was looking up that game, but like is there like an intact, like an actual storyline that you're trying to get from like to the beginning of the end? Because it almost seemed like it was like one of those open world, just kind of Minecraft-y, do whatever you want, don't have a serious goal in mind thing to build a better base or whatever, but that's it. But there's an actual,
there is a little bit of a story, but it's not anything crazy. It's more about the survival, part of it I thought was kind of exciting. The main story is like survive, but they're also trying to get to one area, but they're also trying to like save like people, in their area. But this one was neat because they added a lot of choices, like some groups that you team up with or work with, they might fuck you over. So at that point, if you help them, they actually might end up like stealing resources or killing some of your people. Whereas in the first one, like anyone that like called for help was automatically a good person. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna go over and help them. Yeah. So in this one, it's kind of like, like I remember one of the early ones. There was like a bunch of like brewery people that were like shit faced, and they're like, "Come help us, we have alcohol," and you're like, they seem kind of sketchy. Like, I don't know if I trust them. And lo and behold, they can end up being bad people. It's not like I said, the story is it's all randomized too. Like, you might not even run into these people ever. Because it's all like random, and they're just like, oh, there's a bunch of former military people, and you're kind of thinking like in the back of your mind, like, hey, they might be pretty skilled in this. And each character has different perks too. So one guy might be he might have really fast, like his stamina goes down really, really slow. And then another guy might be super accurate with sniper rifles. So that's what kind of makes you want to find new people and find somebody that you're really good at, and have a squad of, all right, these guys
How many people can you like get into your little...
Depends on your base. So you can have a base
compound.
Yeah, so one of them, like, you'll find like a small like schoolyard or something, and you can store like maybe 8 people, and then you at one point you get like a military base that you can store like 15 people. And then, but of course, the bigger your base, the more and the bigger the attacks are on your base. So you'll start seeing like the fat guy that explodes. And obviously you don't want him in the base because then he explodes and everyone else gets sick. And so it is one of those games that if shit like goes wrong, it's like a domino effect. Like, fuck, this person's sick, this person's sick. And then depending on how long they've been sick, you might have to kill them. So it's like,
you have to go.
And it's permadeath too. So
no,
you got to be careful of that too. So I used to take the people out that it's like, I like him, but if he dies...
You're costing me too much, you have to die now.
So, like, when I took out, like, the special guy, I was like, I'm fucking ready. I got, like, 3 assault rifles, I got pistols, I'm good to go.
Nice.
But I would recommend it, especially with the cheap price.
That's another thing. Like, I'm buying this game system 6 years after it came out, and there's all these old games that I can get for super cheap.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nice. It really opens up your library a little bit, even though Xbox doesn't have the greatest amount of... Microsoft only games. Another thing that I did appreciate was just the fact that it's like seems to be the backwards compatibility is such a nice open feature where there's so many like anything that you basically want you'd be able to do backwards compatible. Where as far as PS4, it's like nope, we don't play PS3 games because it's a different architecture and it's too confusing and the PS3 was weird, so we don't know how to figure that out. So screw you. My question, I had a question for you about, because I haven't tried installing any of them yet. Does it play off the disc, or does it, like, install it? Does it, like, just check that you own it and then it download it? Or does
it checks that you have it downloads it and then checks, basically the disc is a disc check. So,
okay, I was like wondering if it was playing it from the disc or it was just, like, downloading a completely new version.
So it basically just, it downloads the data, from the disc, and then to play it, you just need to insert the disc, and it's basically just catches, like, oh, okay, you got it. All right, we'll play. But I think that's kind of neat because it makes me feel like I'm playing like my old Xbox 360. So I don't mind that part of it. I know for the people that are like, oh, I'm gonna go to GameStop and buy like 16 games, download them, and take them back. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't do that. But there is some games that you could do that with. So like Fallout Game of the Year or Oblivion Game of the Year, they had an additional like separate disc. So if you install that add-on stuff to your original game, you don't need the add-ons anymore.
Weird.
So yeah, so Oblivion, Elder Scrolls, any of those Game of the Years that came with like an additional disc with all that data on it, you can download that as long as you need just like disc 1 or whatever.
That's cool.
So that was kind of neat, a neat idea that people used to do at GameStop. They used to be like, hey, just buy this, or just buy it, borrow it, download it, and then bring it back. And it was like, oh, okay. But no, I was very thrilled when they did the backwards compatibility. But I was nervous that they weren't going to give like any really good games. But as I used to check it, it was like Wednesday at lunchtime. They used to always add a new game, and they're not bad games at all. I mean, looking at the list briefly, there's Ninja Gaiden 2, there's Splinter Cell Conviction, there's Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2, Fable,
like
all the Fables.
Yeah, because like I mean, I saw the list and it was enormous, and then I just looked up the 3 Final Fantasy games. It's like if they have 13, X2, and Lightning Returns, I'm sure they'll have almost anything you would want, because that's like 3 kind of, with the exception of maybe the 13. The fact that they have those other 2 means they probably have a lot of games, because I'm sure those weren't the most popular system sellers or anything like that. So if there's anything you're like, oh, I've been waiting to play, obviously they have all the Halos and everything like that. So
yeah, anything Microsoft,
most of the stuff
obviously
you would want would be on there, I would think.
I was thrilled. Even some of the original Xbox games are backwards compatible with it. Any fans of Star Wars will be thrilled to know that Knights of the Old Republic for the original Xbox, and I believe the sequel can be played on the Xbox One backwards compatible. And then some of the big ones like Red Dead Redemption 1, which a lot of fans that weren't too thrilled with 2 can go back to that one, as well as Undead Nightmare, Darksiders, obviously all the Gears of War games, like we said, and most Microsoft stuff, and a lot of Ubisoft games as well.
Yeah.
So no, it's like I said, I thought it was a great deal, especially for the One X. The One X even enhances it a little bit more to make the frame rate just a little bit better, or like it kind of reshapes the textures a little bit to make it just a little bit more noticeable that it plays better and looks better. Same thing with like the Mass Effect series. It just plays better and looks better on those systems, considering some, they're not going to freaking make an HD version of the damn Mass Effect trilogy.
Yeah, it'll be nice to play through my 360 games and see if I feel like there's any sort of faster loads or if it just looks a little bit nicer, which would be nice. My only real worry is next. I feel like this is getting me too comfortable with having like a 2-system. Like now I have all 3 systems. It's getting me too comfortable being in every ecosystem. So now when next year comes out and like the PS5 and Xbox Scarlet or whatever drops, I'm gonna be even more compelled to just be like, oh, I'll just get both of them. I've got both of them now. That'll be fine. And then I'll have this like $1,000+ bill to take care of next year.
I feel like that might not happen because you got this for a good price.
Yeah, it was $200 with a bunch of games.
And now, not only that, every game that you're looking for is like $6, $5. So
yeah.
At that point, I think you might be okay for a little while.
Like if Microsoft does the thing again next time where they just don't have any really solid games that are for Microsoft only, then yeah, I'd probably pass. But I feel like Phil Spencer is really trying to push. He's probably got some cards up his sleeve. So that's what I'm worried about. It's like, oh man, I'm worried that Halo will be like really good, and they'll have some other really nice from all these studios they keep buying up. They'll have some nice exclusives, which would be a good thing for, I guess, all of us, and also kind of a bad thing that
for our wallet.
Yeah, for my wallet.
No, I'm worried because I would want both systems. So I'm hoping that one is kind of not as obvious as the other.
One that you can maybe wait on at least for a couple of years.
Exactly.
For a sale or...
So I'm hoping that the it's kind of a no-brainer for me because I know the PlayStation 4 is going to be backwards compatible.
Yeah, I think I kind of have to get the PlayStation 5. Like I'm already sold on that, whatever it costs.
That's a guarantee. Pretty much as long as it plays discs and you don't need to be online all the time at that point. Yeah, it's a definite. Xbox, I know I will get at some point. Like I said, I just want to see some more deals because typically I wait like a year and then by the time like that Christmas it's like, oh, let's bundle this and a controller. Hence with like your deal with the Gears of War, you get 5 games and
yeah, nice.
Did it come with 2 controllers or 1?
Just came with 1 controller, and then it came with like download codes for Gears of War 1 Ultimate Edition, and then like Gears of War 2, 3, 4, and 5, I believe.
Nice.
So I can go through the whole series at some point if I want to.
Yeah, actually, that's not bad. So yeah, that's the great thing about waiting a little bit is they're like, all right, we want to get people in, so let's pour on a bunch of games, especially from our studio, so they don't probably mind throwing a Halo game in for maybe the new Xbox. They might be like, all right, Halo Master Chief Collection is already like on the system, so that would be, I feel like, an easy way to get people to jump like, oh, Halo 5, or not Halo 5, Halo 6 is, a launch title. Then it's like, fuck, like, all right, this is going to hurt. But good, this is interesting. So, because now we have both Andy and Matt that have the Xbox One.
Yes, Andy got his Andy's getting his too.
So I'm trying to...
During this Black Friday sales.
Yeah, so I was surprised because he was hemming and hawing back and forth with me, like when we were playing Call of Duty. Like, do I get it? Am I one of those people? Am I one of those people like you that has everything? Da-da-da. And I'm like, Andy, get whatever you want. If you want it, get it. If you don't, whatever. Just throwing this out there. Halo multiplayer. Just saying it. Just saying it. Halo multiplayer. So, and I think that might have swung him in the very direction of getting an Xbox One. Because he's looking into like used copies of like Master Chief, which I don't know if you're a big Halo fan, but I think you should probably look into that.
Yeah, I was a big fan of the first 3, but I just those 4 and 5 just didn't seem to interest me at all.
Yeah, well, with the Master Chief Collection, it's like $30, and it comes with 1, 2. Yeah. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. ODST and now Reach.
Yeah.
So that's not bad for $30 now. So again, getting in late to the game, you're going to get a lot of stuff for really, really cheap, especially with Black Friday. I don't know if there's any other good deals that you saw for Xbox. I know you can get a second controller for $40. That's not bad.
Yeah, there's some good controller discounts. We've talked about a bunch, but there's a bunch of great like PS5 4 exclusives that are like $10 for like God of War. It's just like insane prices.
Oh yeah,
you can get Anthem for $5 if you want to try that out.
I'm tempted because of when I heard that overhaul. I'm like, there's a chance.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get it because it's $5, which is like basically nothing, and then if it becomes like a better game, and it does play decently, like we've said before, it'd just be kind of interesting to see if it progresses at all.
Yeah. I'll be frustrated if in a month they go free to play. It's like, son of a bitch. I wonder if that's what they're trying to do. Like, well, the last bit of Anthems we'll just sell for $5, and then now you just have a disc for, you have a coaster pretty much with Anthem on it. Mm-hmm. Like, yay! But no, I'm hoping they'll do some big things with that and Ghost Recon. So, if you want it offline,
Ghost Recon kind of went into like the abyss of nowhere.
Yeah, I
just like such a huge game on the lead up.
So shocked that they would release that game so close to the Division too. Like, why? It's the same MMO. Like,
yeah, it's definitely the same like group of people they're targeting. It's not like they haven't even released all the season 1 expansions for Division 2 yet, and then they're releasing this like entirely new game that's just going to be competing with itself.
Yeah, just make it the single player focus with maybe some multiplayer aspect if you want, like PvP, like they did in Wildlands. That they kind of did a beta multiplayer on Wildlands, but I would have been super interested. I know some of or a lot of the issues aren't just necessarily with the server being crappy and the game not running at its peak, but it can't help when you have shitty servers and on top of that, a frustrating game. So, fix it, Ubisoft. Come on, make it offline. Sure. Do the right thing, and then I'll buy it. So,
so have you been playing anything else, or?
No, but I did not know that Warcraft 3 Reforged was like a thing coming soon-ish, I think.
Do you know when it's coming out?
I don't know, but
it's another vague.
Yeah,
like,
so
it's coming soon.
Yeah, I downloaded Steam and I was like all excited because, like I said, I just got this Alienware box thingy that's decent, like half decent. It can play stuff probably from like a year or two ago with, no issues.
Relative ease.
Yeah, with relative ease. And yet I'm looking for games like Warcraft 3, which pretty much could be played in a phone. But I just missed that keyboard and mouse feeling. Like I was like, that's how I originally played Call of Duty 4, was on a keyboard and mouse.
There's some games like RTS where like you want to play it on a keyboard and mouse. There's really no other way to play it.
Yeah.
And then, first-person shooters, you're definitely going to get a better fluidity on that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of games I missed out on, like I was talking to you more. I absolutely love, as we pretty much our fans know, or our audience knows, is that we love horror games. So there's a lot of horror games that I know I've missed, and that's why I was scrolling through. Every day I scroll through Steam's like sale of like games and stuff like that, and one of them I saw that I completely forgot about was awesome, or from what I heard was awesome, is System Shock 2. Mm-hmm. I guess it's the same. It's the same creator from the BioShock series, Ken Levine. So, and I heard this one was very creepy. You're on like a desolate ship and you don't know what the hell's going on. So a little bit kind of like Dead Space kind of feeling.
Well, that Steam sale started this week, so maybe it'll be on sale or.
Yeah, so I saw some, like there was another game for
big winter sale.
Yeah, and there was some games that are just kind of clunky on the original console that they're on. Excuse me. But I saw them for like dirt cheap. I saw Thief for like 99 cents. Thief. For the Xbox 360, like Thief something in the Shadows or something.
So you got to do on a Steam sale. Get a bunch of games that you're never going to play because they're too cheap to pass up on.
Exactly. That's how they get you. I want to look around and see some of the good like potential horror games that I missed. I know I want to pick up Layers of Fear because the real physical version is super expensive. It's like $90 to $120. Because it's like a limited run game, and then you can buy it on Steam for $20. And then little games that I missed out and I've never tried that everyone apparently went nuts over, like Five Nights at Freddy's. And
yeah, that's a weird like cult game that like I never really understood why it was so popular, but like they keep making games for it, so someone's buying them.
Yeah, I mean, I want to try just like one of the like maybe the third one, just start right in the middle and then just play it. Like I don't feel like that's something I would buy every single version of it. That and like Slender Man. Was kind of like a guilty pleasure, even though it's just silly and stupid, but it did give me the absolute fucking heebie-jeebies when I played it. And any game that successfully scares me, yay, I'm all in. So that's why I also bought First Encounter Assault Recon, because playing on Xbox was neat, but it felt very kind of buggy and slow and didn't feel right. So when I saw it for PC, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get the gold edition, which comes with the Perseus Mandate, which is like the separate story expansion, which was freaky as hell, as well as the main game for PC. So I was like,
yeah, it's kind of nice to get those games on your PC. Like the PS4 and Xbox are kind of starting to show their age a little. Like all these games that they're making for those have to be compatible with a system that came out like over 6 years ago at this point.
Yep.
And then the PC obviously is making improvements every other day. So like you can really get the crazy performance out of these new games when you can actually notice it. Like it's hard to notice at the beginning of a generation. It's still there, but now it's like super kind of noticeable if you have it screenshot to screenshot.
Yeah.
How much better it can run on a PC.
Oh, absolutely. Just I wanted to test like the power of like whatever item or whatever computer I have. So I put in Call of Duty World at War, and I was like, wow, playing this from the Xbox to this, it's like wow. And this was on a crappy television too. This is on like an Alevio television, like from like 12 years ago. So, and it still looked better. And I was like, I am super excited to play, like I said, all these games. That's why. So if anybody knows, preferably Mike Wilkinson out there, any PC games, I know you were super excited that I was getting into PC games. Anything that is not preferably an MMO or that requires a monthly subscription fee, please let me know.
Are you going to play World of Warcraft with me?
No, I'm not going to play World of Warcraft. My wife is playing World of Warcraft, and I have to kick her off the damn thing just so I can play it. But no, I'm just super thrilled because kind of like your situation where you're getting into a whole new system so late in the game. There are so many games that you could go on eBay right now and check like buying, like selling out in the next 5 minutes, and they're like $4, $5, $6. Like Recore, another one that you should take a peek at. It had a struggle at launch, but it was good later. That was a fun game. Just a lot of these games. I don't know. Well. Just like you said, where it's kind of tough to play an RTS on the system.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try the Halo Wars, I think it's called. That game always intrigued me, and having it on Xbox is neat, but I feel like that's an obvious, like, you got to play it on PC. So that's something I'll probably want to try. And then there was like another, I guess it was called like Spartan Assault. It was kind of this like stupid like Steam game, but it was like a top-down like twin stick shooter.
Ooh, I love twin stick shooters.
Yeah, so it's like this it's like $2.99. I was like, I'm very, very tempted to play a twin stick shooter in the Halo universe. Again, any of those prices that are like under $5, especially when they do that like that green swipe through the price, and it's like 99 cents. It's like, I don't need it, but I want it. Now I can Now I completely understand all the memes where they're like Steam sale, and then it's like pretty much like butterflies flying out of your wallet because you're just broke from buying everything. But yeah. So what else happened in the wonderful news today? I know you mentioned something.
Yeah, this is like the week of, I feel like it was the week of rumors to which like got leaked to which we already knew were happening. So there was a Resident Evil 3 kind of like confirmation / leak that's coming out, supposed to be next year.
Was there anything actual official?
No.
I know they teased things, but
it was nothing official, and honestly, off the top of my head, I forget what the leak itself was. But the general gist I got from it was that it's coming out next year. Resident Evil 3.
2020. I did see that,
which is maybe a little sooner than people would expect. But to me, it kind of makes sense. I mean, I feel like we all knew this game was coming. They hadn't officially announced it, but with the success of Resident Evil 2 and how fun that game was, everyone was going to be begging them to have a new one. I imagine it would be easier to make just because they have all the assets or a lot of the assets already built from the Resident Evil 2 and how they're going to make it play, and I'm sure there's going to be like additional stuff they add, but I'm sure it won't take as quite the amount of time to make as it took the last one. My only concern with this is like I loved Resident Evil 2. I loved Resident Evil 3 when they first came out, but I don't remember Mr. X being as like a big a part of the original Resident Evil 2. Like when you're playing the game, and he was such a big part of the remake. He's almost like he's very similar to Nemesis. Like, is this going to be too much of the same thing where there's this big hulking guy just following you the entire entire game just trying to like kill you, and then you escape him for a little bit, but then he comes and tries to kill you again? Or do you think they're going to do it like, because I think in the game it was more of he would come out of nowhere and then you would have to fight him and you would have to like kill him basically or run away, and then he would go away for a while. Whereas Mr. X was kind of like following you out through the entire game.
And you couldn't kill him. Like,
you couldn't
at
kill
that
him,
point,
but you could knock him down, and like if you like kind of defeat him, every time you beat him, he would like drop a part for a gun, and if you like
that's Nemesis, right?
Correct.
Yes.
And you could actually like get better weapons and better items if you actually fought him instead of running away. But that would cost you a lot of bullets just to do too.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. That's a good question. I don't know. See, my problem is I beat Resident Evil 2 so many years ago that I don't remember because I played as Leon. I didn't beat it as Claire. Mm-hmm. And as Leon, he didn't really feel like he showed up. And he didn't intrude in my game nearly as much. As Claire, he was like annoying as hell. He was just a stalker. And kind of sometimes broke immersion because like he couldn't go into that like safe room. So he'd clearly see me run into the safe room and he would just do like a 360 and just like walk around there for like a minute and then he'd just walk away.
And there'd be like a fence separating them and they could get to each other, and like they have that stupid horror movie mentality of like, hey, I know what we should do. Let's all split up. And it's just like they're never together, which would make it so much easier. But
exactly. So so with Nemesis, I mean, I don't know how I'd feel. I mean, it is frustrating when you have to waste ammo. So, and if I remember right from Resident Evil 3, because I beat it a few times when I was young, that I do feel like he was a set piece in like a certain area, and if you defeated him, he was done in that area for a while.
Nemesis?
Yeah, because I remember the first one's the police station where you meet him, and it's a question
right outside.
Yeah, poor Brad Vickers. It's a hole in his face. And then you can decide if you want to run away or... and I'm sure... I wonder if they'll do, the choice thing again, or they're going to have you, like, see if you can dodge and just, like, leave. Try and just run away.
I would hope they would do it kind of like how the original Resident Evil 3 was, where you can actually fight him, because then you couldn't fight.
No. I'm saying you could do whatever you want. Like, you have the choice. Instead of, like, you, like, having that, like, I remember it comes up, like, almost like gray and black, like when you come up with a decision, and it's like, So maybe instead of doing that, it just kind of flashes and it slows down, and you can decide whether you want to run or not. But yeah, I mean, I hope he's just a set piece, because when I played with Claire in Resident Evil 2, it was frustrating that he was constantly following you around.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was neat that, like, all right, he's impeding my way, I need to find another way around. But for me, someone that conserved ammo, and I wasn't, like, terrified, it was kind of more frustrating, because whenever I'd use a bullet, I would get really pissed off. Yeah. I would shoot him, like, in the kneecap, like, hoping that the zombie would just fall. And at that point, I'd just run by, so I don't have to waste a whole clip on him.
Yeah, I remember I had to move a bookcase at one point, and he was just so close to me that I couldn't do it, and I would have to run to the other side of like the whole mansion just to get him away from the bookcase for me to move, and it was just, all right, this is just more frustrating than
it's more
anything
frustrating and time-consuming than that. Or if you had a weapon that could stun him for a good, 25, 30 seconds or something that you know of, but you have to conserve him maybe. But I feel like they would do the sections where it's like if you fight him and finish him off, then he's gone from that area.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be neat, because I mean, knowing me, I'm gonna be like, no, I want the Desert Eagle parts.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, because I always try to kill him to get all the best weapons. But that's usually a dumb move, because then you just end up with no ammo, because he's like a beast and he's a bullet sponge. So
yep, and then with those people that were really good with the freaking knife, screw you. My friend used to be really good with the knife. He used to
kill the nemesis with a knife.
He actually could kill the nemesis with a knife. I was like, that is unfair, and I don't know how the hell you do that. Yep, I was like, nope. No. It was. I remember I think the number of stabs ran somewhere in the hundreds. And I was like,
that sounds awful.
No, thanks. I was like, that's equivalent to like those number of jumps in Final Fantasy X that you had to do in the lightning friggin' planes.
Oh my God, yeah.
I stopped after like 10. I'm like, no thanks. I choose life. I'm gonna get out of here. I do hope they keep that. Did they have a knife situation in that game where you could use like just a regular knife in 3?
It was so long ago, I forget. I'm assuming off the top of my head that there was a knife that you could use.
Because I'm hoping they keep that same mechanic that they did in Resident Evil 2 Remake, where
you can use it as like a last
exactly. You could use it as a last resort, and you could also take it back, and then the second time you use it, it breaks. I thought that was a really neat way of utilizing the knife, because you could actually, I think, use it just as a general weapon, or you just use it as a self-defense weapon, which I think they started to do in the Resident Evil 1 remake, which I thought was a great idea.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just, like, randomly get connected to the zombie. You're like, what the fuck? Like, come on. You didn't... Oh, I have the knife, and okay, never mind. I'll just take it back. So that was a really nice change that I loved into.
Yeah, I wonder when they're gonna. So presuming this rumor is true, I wonder when in 2020 it would come out. Like I would imagine it would be in the latter half, just because we've still heard so little about it. But next year's beginning to look so stacked already that like, how, are you gonna get out before these consoles? Like, what time is a good time for this game to not get lost? You can't do it in the beginning of the year because then you got Final Fantasy, you've got Cyberpunk, you've got Avengers coming out after that, and then you've got what's the PS4 exclusive? The
Last of Us 2?
No, the Ninja one.
Oh, yeah, Neo 2.
No.
Neo 2.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different one, but whatever. Yeah, you have The Last of Us 2. You have
I know what you're talking about. Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
there we
that's
go.
the one that couldn't. It was on the top of my tongue.
Yes.
So all those games, then you got the new systems coming out. Like, what time do you release this? Like, the only thing I think is maybe like in October-ish, because it would have to be before the new systems, but people would like have time to actually play it. So I guess it would be somewhere around that time. If you could think like when the best time to release that would be.
I don't know. Maybe they'll see, or depending
Next
on the
year's
schedule.
starting to be stressful.
It is. I mean, right away, Final Fantasy
games.
and CD Projekt Red, I don't know why I named
Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
CD Projekt Red the game.
Yeah, CD Projekt Red the game. Yeah, no, it's going to be a stacked, and then on top of that, I think within a week of that is Doom Eternal as well.
Yep.
Doom
Eternal's next year now.
Yeah, and that's right in March, so that's like right in between. And I know I'm already getting Neo, and I'm getting Ghost of Tsushima, and I know I'm going to be getting Last of Us 2, and it's going to be a kick in the wall. And then I would assume Horizon Zero Dawn 2 might be announced next year.
Yeah, so I guess that's the other leaked rumor that we really already knew the answer to was the PS5 like specific release date and price got leaked. Like just someone that says they had insider information. So this is another one of those things to take with a grain of salt. It's not like officially confirmed by Sony, but they're saying it's going to be November 22nd, which is a Friday, the Friday before before Thanksgiving next year, and then it's going to be $500. Which I feel like that's not really like a out there guess. If you had asked me, I would say, all right, there's 3 days this can come out. It's either the 22nd or the 2 Fridays before that, because it's going to come out on a Friday probably, and it's going to come out on November probably, and it's going to come out before Black Friday. So like that's kind of the obvious things when you think of a new system coming out in the winter or like the season of 2020, holiday season, I should say, of 2020. And then when you think about the price, like I feel like, people are always guessing what the prices are, and I feel like 500 is the one that makes the most sense to me. You're talking about plausible numbers between 400 and 600. 400 was what the PS4 launched at, and it was like really low at the time. Just with inflation, that's like $460 now. So to even undercut the PS4 with all the new stuff, the new solid state hard drive, all the early specs that we've seen that make this look even more like a bigger jump than that was, it kind of seems like they just physically wouldn't be able to get it at that price point. And then you think, all right, well, would they have it be at $600? And it's like, all right, at that point, they need to get people into this ecosystem. They need to at least like try to match the whatever Microsoft is going to charge for their system. So that like 500 makes the most sense to me, and to be like a pretty good guess. Could it be lower? Maybe, but I would say there's like a 70% chance it's going to be 500, and then there's like a 30% chance it'll be a little lower. I don't think they would go higher than that, because that's the point where you start to let Xbox undercut you.
Yep.
I mean, even if it cost them a little bit of money, like when you're selling that many systems, you can't really undercut your sales too much with making it like cost more than you're selling it for. But once you get these into people's hands, it's like, okay, you've got the next 7 years of selling licenses to games to them. So every time they're buying a game, you're getting whatever, 30% of it. And then if they're buying like a Sony property, you're getting much more percentage of it. So it's like they just got to get this into as many people's hands as possible. So I don't know if was any of that a surprise to you, or is that we?
No, I mean 500 sounds reasonable. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what the Xbox One was.
Yeah, that was the original
well.
Xbox One that came with the Kinect.
Oh, right, they were forcing the Kinect on
they
people.
couldn't match Sony in the last generation.
Right, yeah, because they were so obsessed with forcing that on people. Yeah, no, that's not a bad price. The only sucky thing is just all those games that we just talked about. That Ghost of Tsushima is not guaranteed on PlayStation 5. And then what was the other one that we were coming out potentially like Resident Evil 3? Like that's another one it would be kind of frustrating if it's not on next gen systems if it's that close. But then again, they might say, well, because
some of these games could be cross-gen. They could be doing that thing they did last generation with like you can get it on
both systems. Yeah,
either or. This one will look a little bit better, but it'll basically play the same.
Oh yes, I remember like Black Flag and
which is always kind of it always kind of bummed me out because it's like I want new games from a new system. I want games that can't be played on the old system because those games, they looked a little bit better. For the most part, they didn't look amazing. They didn't do anything different as far as like gameplay wise. Just because they had to build themselves for the lowest common denominator of the last system.
Yep, I remember that, and it just looked a little bit better, and maybe the frame rate was a little bit better, but it wasn't exponentially better per se. But yeah, that would make me kind of sad if there was a lot of if the games came out like a month or two and they were only the last gen. Because I know I don't want to think this, but as a collector, I rarely go back to my older systems. Every now and then I just have this urge. I'm like, Silent Hill 2 will always be one of those games that I just want to go back to, even if I just want to play the beginning intro, but it's one of those games that I just want to go back and play. And that's few and far between with the number of games that I have that I actually will go back to. So, like I said, if Resident Evil 3 does come out in the older system only, I mean, I'm still gonna get it regardless.
But this will be an interesting gap because it'll be with these systems. I'm assuming that they're both going to be backwards compatible on day one, which PS4 wasn't able to play any really PS3 games, and Xbox it took them a long time to get to the point where you can play most of your 360 games backwards compatible. So when you got these new systems, you're like, all right, I got to get new games because I have nothing to play on this. Yep. But if we get these systems next November, presumably, we're going to be playing we can just have all of our old games. I mean, they're not going to be as exciting as a new system, whatever games come out for the new system. But I mean, if Resident Evil 3 or Ghost of Tsushima or some of those games come out kind of at the same time or even after, I'm still going to want to play those. So it's fine, I'll just play it on my new system, a little bit upscaled or whatever.
Yeah. But if they do an enhanced thing, hey, you can play it on here and I don't know, maybe the frame rate's a little bit better, or
the loading.
The loading is much faster. There's zero loading screens. Then that might be a nice incentive to all right, I won't wait till this becomes for both systems. I remember Andy was saying something about with Cyberpunk. He was like, I want to get it for PlayStation 4, but I'm a little bit worried that it'll also come out on PlayStation 5. And I see with that game that's coming out so early, March I think it is, that I don't mind. But when a game is coming out in September, October, and the system's coming out in November, that kind of leaves damn it. So, but there's no guarantee. We don't have there's no official release of
this is all still conjecture, rumor.
Yeah. I mean, it might not be a bad idea to do January of that, after, so January 2021 might not be a bad idea. That would be exactly...
To sell the system?
No, to sell the Resident Evil 3.
Oh, okay.
So at that point...
that'd be a good time in the spring.
Yeah, because that's right when, I believe, Resident Evil 2 Remake came out in January, I believe.
Yeah, so I think it was February, earlier in the year.
Yeah, it was early in the year. So, and on top of that, then you get it for new systems, and I feel like those are, I would assume for these companies, that's the system seller. You want them on that new system. You got to have one of those games on there. And actually, now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if The Last of Us gets pushed again to the next system, because maybe they saw their lineup and they're like, shit, we're offering a lot. Let's pull it back a little bit. We need some bullets in the chamber to to excite fans for the PlayStation 5. We don't want everything coming out with the 4. They kind of already walked away with this friggin', fight against Xbox. You might as well, start off strong with the next one. But hey, I mean, they have tons of titles, just as we read off, that they could potentially throw on as like starting games. Because I don't know about you, but did you get PS5 4 day one?
I got PS4 day one.
I don't recall anything being super exciting for the first 3 months.
Yeah, launch games are pretty weak. I remember having a lot of affection for Resogun, which was like a launch. It was the first PS Plus game that you got for free if you had PS Plus. I think that was kind of a stellar game, which I got like many hours of enjoyment. But you're right, there was no like big long story games or like interesting games that you could play like that you would consider like, oh, this is the AAA system seller.
Yeah, because I remember Black Flag was one of them. It's like, you can get it for PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3. It's like, yeah, but that's neat and all, but I mean, it's still, you can tell it has the template of like the previous system.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it does look like, I feel like this is going to be a pretty cutthroat console generation with like Phil Spencer, whatever he's got working in the back, and then like it seems like they're holding back a lot of like, hey, is Horizon Zero Dawn going to be a launched game? Like, is it the sequel? Is we already know that the next Halo is going to be a console launch game, so it seems like they're going to come out of the gate pretty strong this time. Like, we could have a pretty like record breaking launch lineup for once for both of these systems, which is just going to be bananas. When it comes out, see what happens.
Yeah, because the worst thing is that first like month or two at the store, you're just like, I want something new, and one of them is like pinball. It's like,
get Fusion
why
Frenzy.
not? Yeah, like Jesus Christ. And you're just wasting your money because you're just desperate to have a new like shiny new game that's
yeah. Because when I get a system, I feel like I need two games. I can't just have one, because that's like, I'm not spending $500 to play one game and then just be done with it. I need to have two very different styles of games. So it's like it's definitely a good opportunity for anyone that can get a game at launch, where like people are just like, I need something, I'm gonna buy these 2 or 3 games or whatever.
And I always feel like I feel like
the bar's a little lower.
Yeah, I feel like the Nintendo Switch did that same thing too, where at the very beginning of its life, yes, they had the Zelda Breath of the Wild, but then it was like a real lull for a while.
Yeah, it was like that and 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, they had 1-2 Switch, and then it was like Street Fighter Alpha, which was neat, but I'm not a fighter person. And then it was like Super Bomberman, which literally
got some bad reviews.
Yeah, it was just the old Bomberman game. It's like a phone game.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot good until like the end of the year with Mario.
Yeah, and I feel like that was all the time to push like, all right, let's push our crap content first. Let's just get those out of the way. Then, a year into it, when people were clamoring for anything, they were just like, I want something just on the system. I want Skyrim for the, even though I have it for every other system. But they just...
Why not?
Yeah, of course, right? You just got to need it for every system. Even with the Xbox One, which has all the mods, which is really fun. But yeah, I feel like the Switch suffered from that a lot too, where they just they were starting to push out like crappy AAA games.
True. True.
And like one of those games that you'd find like, like the Wii, what do they call them? Bargain bin games, where they were just like cheap, and the only reason they were making money is because they came out and nothing was competing against it. So then they started really dropping good games every few months. The Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Maker, Mario Party. That's when they really started to get the ball going. But yeah, so
cool.
What else in the news?
So we did get like official confirmation that Final Fantasy Part 2
I saw that
is underway, which is interesting to learn. Like, obviously it makes sense that they're already working on it. They have all the assets and everything. We didn't learn too much about it. It was an interview with one of the creators of one of the guys that's working on the Final Fantasy Part 1 remake. It's just kind of nice because it's been a little squirrely the way they've been handling this whole rollout and like when these games are going to come out. Like, I feel like unless you're really plugged in and you're listening to podcasts like this one or any other podcast and you're looking stuff up, you probably don't know that this is not the full game. Yeah. It's not on the box. I never see them say Final Fantasy 7 Part 1 or like this is the beginning of the saga. It's just, hey, here's the Final Fantasy 7 remake. That's how the initial trailer was. That's how pretty much every piece of artwork is. That's how the box is. So it's kind of a little bit like I'm almost a little disappointed that they're not at least being upfront that, hey, this is just part 1 of some number of games that we're going to be coming out. obviously it's a good sign that they're probably gonna push through and make all of them. I was a little worried about that at first, that hey, like maybe this one was going to cost them too much money to make, and maybe it like was too much of a hassle to create like this big giant game out of just Midgar, that they might just end up never finishing it, or like maybe it's going to take us 10 years to get this whole story because they're going to do each of them, and it's going to take, it took them this time like 5 years to make this first one. It's going to take 5 years to make the next 3 or 4, however many they're going to make. Knowing that they're at least underway, maybe they have kind of a plan, like, all right, this is gonna come out, that we're not gonna talk about the other ones, but we're working on them. Maybe they'll be able to come out in 2 years or something, which would be nice if it was like no more than like a 2-year gap between these. Like that's something I could handle. If it's like 3 or 4 years and it's like more than 3 parts, I'm gonna buy them all, but I'm gonna be not happy about the cadence of it. Like that's my worry, is that I'm gonna be like in my 50s finishing this. Like it's not even a super unreasonable. Like I'm 32 right now. Like I won't finish this saga before I turn 40, which is strange, but also like I don't think you could with a straight face say definitely I'm going to beat this series by the time I'm 40 years old. Like who knows?
I know. I feel like if they eventually make the last game of this, I don't know how many, 4, 3.
That's another thing that really bugs me, that they can't be like it's part 1 of 3.
Yeah,
like it could be 3, but maybe it's 4, maybe it's 5. Like,
yeah,
who
so
knows?
it's that fear of like, if how many is this going to be? How much are they going to like bleed me dry? It also depends on the reviews of this game. Like, I mean, if they come out and they're terrible because it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero, where essentially it's like a tech demo.
Yeah, I'm just worried about because this story for Final Fantasy VII is very deliberate. It's very thought out. It's like there's a lot of interesting characters, which is nice that they can put this in this game. But it's like, at the end of the game, is it going to have a punch? Like, is there really a good point where they can be like, all right, this is a full game by itself. So even if you didn't play the other ones, you're going to enjoy it and have a full story. Yeah. But also you want there to be enough of like questions and enough of, I mean, obviously we know the story, but they can't really finish every thread. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot left open by the end of the part 1. So is that going to be still satisfying to get to the credits of that game, or are you going to be like annoyed that you have to wait 2 years to get to the next part, which isn't even going to probably be the end?
That's true. It's interesting. It's
cautiously
like,
optimistic about this.
It's like episodic, except not. Because episodic, usually you pay $60 and then like
you get all of it. Yeah,
you get all of it, and they do it in batches. So like the first one, I think. What's the Walking Dead? Yeah,
they do
Telltale
it, you
series.
Get 5 of them. They're like $5 each or whatever. You
exactly.
can buy them all for 60 or whatever it is. But
only problem with that is I highly doubt you could play, the Walking Dead Telltale series number 2 and know what the hell's going on. So that's where they really need to
those at least come out like in a decent cadence where they're not like years apart. That's another thing. Like these games this is such a big undertaking that I don't know how long it's going to take for them to get that's an interesting question, is when do you think part 2 is going to come out? Like obviously it's going to be a next gen game, so it's going to be like this kind of weird thing where not all the games are even on the same, not even all parts of the same game are on the same system. So is it going to look markedly better, or is it going to look old because it's built off these assets that were made for PS4? So, I mean, these are like, I'm extrapolating a lot to these weird questions we're going to have down the road, but it's just so interesting to me that we just don't know a lot about how they're creating this saga and like how it's going to turn out. But I don't know. I'm worried, but I'm trying not to be. So
I know, I don't blame you. I mean, I just quickly looked up on GameStop's website the remake just to see what the cover looks like, and it looks like the original cover from Final Fantasy VII. With no indication of, is this number 1, number 2, or obviously it's number 1, but 1 of 3, 1 of 4, 1 of whatever.
Yeah, I wonder how many people are going to buy it on day 1 and then get to, 30 hours and be like, wow, this game's a lot. They fleshed this out, and then get to the end and be like, wait, this isn't the entire game?
Yeah, this isn't the end, yeah.
Like, I bet that's going to be a lot of people, which is kind of a bummer, especially that like a big audience for this is probably people that are nostalgic about that old game. Maybe a lot of them don't play a lot of video games anymore, so they're not into the news of what's happenings, and they're like, oh man, but I do know that the new systems are coming out, and I do know that Final Fantasy Remake's coming out, like the biggest kind of tent pole points of the video game industry, and just kind of to get bamboozled by this, which would be kind of frustrating for me at least. So
Oh, I don't think it would just be to you. I think it would be the fans. And not only that, I feel like it would, for someone that's just picking up this game for the first time, and, I don't remember playing Final Fantasy VII that well, but for some fans, they might get to Midgar and then get out, and then they'll be like, that didn't feel like a complete game like that.
Yeah.
And so for those fans,
because you just naturally have these expectations of the next parts of the story that you're like, oh, I want to go on. I want to meet, all these great characters that you're not even going to meet in the first part of the game, like characters of your main party.
Yep.
Like it's just got to be frustrating. Like, oh, Sid's my favorite character, but you don't meet him until part 3. It's like, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, exactly. So,
but hey, maybe there'll be some new characters that we'll love even more, and we'll be psyched about it. But I think he did kind of say that they weren't adding any new like main characters, like no one in your party, but there's going to be new bosses and new enemies, which I kind of like the idea of. Obviously they're going to have to add more to flesh it out, so it'd be interesting to see if like that stuff feels like very like it belongs, or if it's just kind of shoehorned in there. I guess I just have a lot of questions that I'm not going to be able to answer for 10 years. So I'm going to have a lot of questions for the next 5 years worth of podcasts.
I can't wait to play Final Fantasy VII Part 85. Yeah, it's just at that point they're just going to be like, you know what happened? Sorry, guys.
I mean, how many people are going to play Part 1 and not even live to see the end of this saga?
Yeah, it's going to be.
Like,
I'm going to pass this down to my grandchildren.
That's going to be like a like an actual number of people. It's going to be more than probably 1%. It's going to be a few percent of people that just won't live to see the end of the saga.
I'm just hoping. Yeah, the only thing I have like a good feeling about is that with Final Fantasy 15, they really started to learn how to make like an open, expansive world, and I don't know how they built it, but maybe that with all the foundation that they've already done with Midgar, and maybe with Final Fantasy 15 and all the DLC that they did, that maybe they can procedurally generate, the world, and then just focus on, like I said, pumping these games out, once every other year or once every year and a half.
Which is another part of their problem. It seems like they've been burning me ever since Final Fantasy like 10. Like there hasn't been a game as good as 10 in my opinion in the series. Yep. It really fell off, and a lot of that is like these games seem like they get into this Bermuda Triangle of game development or whatever, where they're just in development for like 4 or 5 years. And you're like, all right, well, if they're spending this much time on it, it's going to be awesome. But there's so many cooks in the kitchen. There's like, it's passed so many hands. It's gone on through, it's like built for 2 different generations because they took too long, where like it just becomes like a mess at the end. And then you have Final Fantasy 15 comes out, and like the story doesn't make a lot of sense. It just kind of falls flat at the end because it seems like they were definitely forced to like, okay, we got to get this to an end point and ship this game out.
Did you end up beating that?
Yeah, I beat it, but like I couldn't tell you a thing about it.
Yes.
All I could tell you was like it was really cool at the beginning with like to go on that car ride, and it's like this cool buddy adventure.
I got disappointed immediately when I found out the car couldn't go off road.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, we're literally on rails.
Yeah, and then a few chapters later, I was like, all right, this is no longer interesting.
Yeah, I remember being so disappointed, but. Yeah, I felt with that like giant world, it's like, okay, maybe that's something that they could use as an asset. Because I mean, if you think about it, I don't remember how many towns there are on Final Fantasy VII, but there can't be more than what, like 15, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
So, and some of them, I mean, Midgar was big, if I remember, it was pretty big. Whereas some of the stuff that is in the other parts of the world are not going to be as big. The casino, Red 13's village. Those type of things that are kind of just like smaller. You could probably compact like, 5 of those into one game, or it could be maybe you just can't enter the town until, until the next game, or so you only have this section as like an open world. I do hope they're connected, and once you get to the next section, as long as you have them all downloaded or something, you can go back and forth between. Even if it's just like a loading page, that's fine. As long as it's something that you can continuously bounce back. Because I remember doing that at the end of it where I was just like, oh crap, I need to get to 99 or to beat Sephiroth. So I just ended up running around like farming, but it was kind of neat. Like, oh, I'm exposing myself to new areas in this map. I've never been here. Oh, what's this giant ruby weapon thing? He looks pretty easy.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, whoops.
Like it seems like the second one might be harder in some respects because that's at that point they're gonna actually have to open up this game and like to the world map. They're gonna have to be able to get to like secret areas. There's gonna be different towns. It's gonna be a lot more complex. Like there's gonna be we have to balance this game for people going X, Y, or Z direction.
Yep.
And then you got to add chocobos at that point. So like it just kind of like exponentially gets a more complicated and bigger game. And like, are you gonna get to the second continent in the second disc? I would assume so, because like there's like 3.5 continents, and you can't just spend multiple discs on just the first continent. So it's gonna be such a strange different way of playing. Like the first game's going to be this one city, and then the second game I would assume would probably be like the first 2 continents after that, like all the way through to the point where you're going to the casino, where you're going to find Vincent, like that whole area, like Yuffie, like you get all the other characters, like you get in the sub at that point. So it's going to be like almost a completely different.
I forgot about the sub.
Yeah, just like
is there a spaceship at some point?
Yes, there's a airplane, and then there's a spaceship. There's a lot of stuff going on in that game.
I haven't played that game in so
it's so good.
It was good. I remember playing it for the first time in college, and I was hooked on it. No, it'll be interesting to see what they do, and if they just make it something that just goes right to the next segment of the game, or if it's something that locks you in, like in that first world, and then there's nothing you could do. I just hope it's not linear. I just hope it's still open-ended. Open world where you can just run amok. And I also hope they don't make it so that like all the area in between towns is just almost like a fast travel point. I want it to be
like enemies, and
I want it to be some enemies every now and
extra.
then. I want to be able to like take a chocobo and like run around.
That's kind of what I'm most interested in, is like when you're traveling this big open world. I'm really hoping that's the things I want them to add to the game. Don't like drastically alter the story, but like add completely new side quests and like maybe a new area or two that I'm not familiar with. For these people that love this game, that have played it dozens of times, it's like it's really fun to play, but it also gets a little stale in the fact that like I've seen all this before.
Yeah.
Like kind of surprise me, show me something I'm not expecting. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping they do some of that too.
Have they done anything in the combat, like with some of the trailers? Have they changed some of the monsters or something a little bit to make it look a little bit better and more modern? Because I know there's some really goofy enemies. Like there's a house with like eyelids and shit. That like shoots rockets at you. Like that's gonna be a little weird. But
it's gonna be a little weird, but I'm sure they're gonna still have those characters in it. But I mean, all I've seen of the combat has been stellar. Like even after the original trailers of the Scorpion, like they've shown more trailers, over the last few months, and it's just been like kind of crazy just seeing how good the gameplay looks, how good like all the spells and the summonings, and just how they work, how they do limit breaks and everything like that seems really interesting. And the fact that like if you really want to, you can play it in the old school style and do it like where you wait and just pick your action and then go, so you don't necessarily have to do the kind of hot action where you're attacking to build up your bar. You can just like kind of wait and it'll fill up automatically and play it like the old game. So it'll be interesting to see if like that'll have the same balancing or if it'll be played differently. But it's just kind of, it does look like they're definitely adding definitely a lot of nuance to the fighting and combat, so it's just going to be a lot more exciting than it was.
I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of the combat in 15. I know some people really didn't, but I actually thought it was a great step in the right direction for Final Fantasy, because I was always frustrated that they would not fully make an action RPG. They always danced around it, because when I played 10, I was like, this is neat, but I don't like turn-based, and then they made 11 online, and it was like, well, I'm not doing that. Then they made 12, and it was like, I can run around, but I have to wait for this orange, like, target to land, and then I have to walk over to them, and then he automatically does it.
Yep.
So it was like, all right, that's kind of goofy. And then 13 had this weird, like, all you're doing is, like, changing the style of your play, but you don't actually get to control them.
I don't even remember.
I don't know. It was weird. Because it was like
so
normal attack, and then your character would just like dance around and do normal attacks, and then you could put in a second command that was like heavy attack, but it was not something. It wasn't immediate response. So this one I feel like was the first, like, you attack, you defend when you want to, and it was like, okay, it's just unfortunate that the story just took a diving plunge.
Well, maybe they get the best of both worlds with the remake.
Yeah, and I mean, I love the fact that they're doing both turn-based style and normal, because I remember seeing on a bunch of like comment sections for Resident Evil 2. Granted, it was a small minority of people, but there was still a bunch of people bitching like, "Oh, I want the original style. I want the tank controls," and it's like, what are you gonna like? Leave the company alone. They're trying to modernize the game to hit the biggest market. Why not just modernize it? And yet this company, Square Enix, is going and saying, you know what? We're going to do it for the people that love it, but we know that we have hardcore fans that just don't want to lose touch. So we're going to do that. We're going to tailor it towards them as well.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I mean, a lot of games have implemented. Greedfall does the same thing too, where you can pause in real time and you can choose your next action. So if you want to drink a spell, or if you want to, attack this enemy, or it lets you do it. So I feel like it's something that Square Enix is obviously one of the top, video game developers, publishers, whatever. That's kind of like a no-brainer for them. If they can do it, give you the resources, because this could be, like I said, this could be one of the best-selling RPGs in a long time.
Yep.
Probably since like Skyrim, with the way it's going. Just don't screw over your fans. Last question on Final Fantasy. If you had to put a money bet down on how many discs, sorry, when I say discs, I mean like volumes,
episodes?
Episodes.
Parts.
This would be parts. What would you put your money on?
That's a good question. I feel like it has to be.
And as a fan, as someone who has beaten the game multiple times, I feel like you know how to segment the game, like break it up so that it would be like, it would feel like an ending here, or it'd feel like an ending here, or it'd feel like a tease here.
Yeah, there's definitely a few points in that game where you can be like, oh, this is a big like punch, a big like, all right, we're gonna stop and take a break for a year or two or whatever it is. But again, there's so much content that I feel like you can't get it. You can't have like 10 games. You can't have too many. I feel like it has to be either 3 or 4. And if I was gonna guess between those two, man, I think they're gonna try to do it in 3.
You think it'll be a trilogy?
Yeah, I think it'll be a trilogy, just because like they can't just. Like 4 just seems like too many. It seems too long. Like if you think about that, like best case scenario, it's going to be 2 years between these games. Mm-hmm. It's going to be 6. If it's 4 discs, it's going to be 6 years to get the last one. Oof. And that's assuming they do these in 2 years, which I think is not realistic.
If they don't hit a snag.
So just to kind of get these out in like a reasonable fashion, I feel like they got to kind of put a lot into each of these discs and kind of. Especially after this first one, really move the story along. I could see 4 just because like I have a hard time trying to fit all that story into 3 discs. But like anything more than that, I think if they had 5, that would really start to piss people off. Like that would be annoying to me, because at that point you're paying hundreds of dollars for this one game, which becomes an issue too. Like I'm sure once the last one comes out, I'm sure they'll have some epic, here's all of them together.
They'll do an epic collector's edition. You can
get all the new ones.
For the people that already spent $400 like Andy did on the statue. Or something like that.
It's like that Infinity War collection. You can get all the Marvel movies for like hundreds of dollars all in one case. It'll be like that. I mean, this nice little pretty box.
Yeah, even though you bought them individually for the whole time. Yep. That'd be a kick in the teeth.
Do you have any thoughts on how many?
I'll tell you one thing I think would be really, really, really cool is the original Final Fantasy VII was 3 discs, correct? Mm-hmm. How neat would it be if you open the Final Fantasy VII and it showed disc 1, like with PlayStation 4 on it? So it was like that first, paint, but it's the style of the PlayStation 1 where it says disc 1 of whatever.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And then, 1 of 3. So at that point, it's 3.
That'd be cool. Like a little something to figure out once the game comes out. Or
so
I'm sure it'll be leaked a few weeks before, but
so I don't know if Square Enix is a big tease person.
I'm concerned that they don't even know, because like it seems like they're being so squirrely with this that I feel like they have no idea how many parts this is going to be. That's what worries me, because that's a very easy way to get this into that like 5-6 game territory, which I don't want.
Yeah, and now if this game ends in a certain area, will you feel like you'll know how many discs it's going to be? Or do you still think like this is a weird time to stop?
I think this is a weird time to stop because Midgar is like, it's an early part of the game. It is, like you were saying, a much bigger city. It's more fleshed out than a lot of the other cities, but even then it's only, if I'm going to be honest, it's got to be like 10% or less of the game, and it's like we can't have 10 of these games.
No.
It's you're only meeting the first, you end up getting, I think, 8 or 9 characters in your team.
Wow.
And you start off like in Midgar, you're only going to meet, maybe 4 or 5 of them. Like some of the crowd favorites are going to be completely off of this disc. You're not even going to get to the point where you can search the map. You're not even going to get to the point where you can ride a chocobo. You're not, like, there's so many, I don't know, you are going to get a summons, but there's going to be, it's going to be those first 2 or 3 summons that you get in the game that you're like, all right, I'm kind of over these because I got better ones. It's like, how many are you going to get? They're probably going to have a few more. Maybe they'll have like 5 or 6, but it's like they can't release all of them because there's got to be stuff for these new games. Like, they can't release a lot of weapons, so it's like, are all the weapons, are they going to add a bunch of new weapons? They should, because otherwise it's just going to be like, all right, here's the 3 weapons you can get in Midgar for Cloud, and that's it? Like, you're just going to have 3 weapons?
That's true.
So it's just.
That would for a whole game.
So how are they going to extrapolate like all the items and the materia and like all these different things that you get over a course of a 50-hour RPG like Final Fantasy VII Original?
I just realized that this game is $60. It's like
it's $60.
A $60 game. This completely,
like, none of this makes sense. It all breaks apart when you think about how small Midgar is compared to this entire game. Like is it going to cap you at level? I don't know what level you get out of Midgar at, but it's like maybe 20. Like, they're not going to cap you at 20, so the leveling system's going to be completely different.
Yeah, I wonder if they'll do. I wonder if they'll do maybe one of 2 things. One, maybe a system where you gradually are going back down, and you have to like keep it up at that point. So like.
Like you lose experience?
Yeah, like if you...
That sounds awful.
It does sound awful. Like, I'm just trying to think of what they could do. Because obviously, if you know this is going 3 stories, unless, of course, they just do 99, and then you get to 99, and then they reset you at the next game.
Yeah, that's what I assume they're going to do.
Sense. Yeah, because...
Otherwise, you're going to be carried over and be super overpowered all the time.
Yeah, and like, I remember God of War, like, 2 to 3, which, again, is 2 completely different games. Like God of War 2, like you were the strongest that you could ever be, and then, spoilers, you get sent back down to hell and you lose all your powers. Yeah. So, but they can't do that in a game that already is known.
Yeah, so one of the best parts about playing Final Fantasy VII is like, all right, I'm going to get all the ultimate weapons in this game, but you're not going to be able to get any of them in the first disc, or they're going to have to add new ultimate weapons for every game, and it's going to have that same issue that MMOs have, where like you get all this awesome, like you've got all the tier stuff from the big raid,
useless later,
and then they make an expansion. And it's like all this amazing stuff that took forever to get and was like the best in the game is all just made like trivial by like the basic
common
items in the next expansion. And then it's like, they always say like your shoulders can only get so big, like your pauldrons for your World of Warcraft character, they can't just keep making it look better and better every time a new thing comes out. So it's like these ultimate weapons at the end of part 1, they're going to have to make them even big. Like, is it going to be like, are the characters going to look ridiculous by the end of the final game, where their swords just has to look so much more intricate than the big swords from the first game, just because now these are the super ultimate items? I don't know. There's just so many unanswered questions. I guess we'll have plenty of time to answer them. As we'll find out in, I think, just 3 short months. I can't believe it's coming up so soon. Is there anything else you have for today's?
No. I just feel really bad that Andy is not here, considering we talked about his favorite game for most of it.
What did we talk about?
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh, okay.
So literally his favorite game. Andy, we promised that we're going to...
we've done it. We can't talk about it till it releases.
No, that's it. Okay, sorry. We've made a pact. So, sorry.
There has to be some more news about it.
Yeah, so next big news cycle, Andy, we'll throw you in and we'll add you in. But slow week. So
Yep. All right, so where can the fine people find you?
You can find me, Game Review Guy, on Twitter.
Nice. You can find me at Matt Talks Games on Twitter, or if you could be so kind, you can email us at the manabarpodcast@gmail.com. Send us all your questions, send us all your insults, send us all your inquiries. send us all your hate mail, your love mail, whatever you want to do.
But most importantly, spread the word.
Yes, tell everyone about how amazing we are and how great this podcast is and how you love it and how you want them to listen to it so you can talk about it or make fun of us or whatever you want to do.
Whatever you need to do.
I don't really care. You can just turn it on. And you don't even have to be in the same room. Just turn it on.
Yeah, just throw it out there.
Yeah.
If your cat's around, you never know.
All right, so this is the Trophy Hunter and the Collector signing off. The Bargain Bin Gamer has left us for his
Till next
family
week.
and loved ones. Maybe he'll be back if we let him. Signing out.
See ya.